Welcome, everyone, to the Sports Writers Podcast. There they are, Phil Stacey, Matt Williams, Nick Giannino here, all from the Salem News. And gentlemen, welcome. Here we are for another week, and we're at the kind of the Final Four week here this week in the MIAA playoffs, and that in itself sounds pretty exciting. So, gentlemen, let's begin. Nick, I'm going to go right to you first. We're going to football. We're going to Salem football. Huge win last week. Maybe talk to us about that. And then they're, of course, playing Stoneham, the number 15 seed, this Friday night in the D6 tournament. But this has been a terrific program, Stoneham, over the years. So I guess let's begin with last week's game, and then we'll move forward to this week's contest.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, as people have probably seen by now, 55-0 win for Salem. I thought they played a really good game, and the opposing team obviously lost their starting quarterback, which made things a little bit easier, I think, for Salem. He was a kid that in the first half was really getting out in space and using his legs and making things hard for the Salem defense. And he ended up leaving with an injury. I don't have the roster right in front of me. I think his name was Matt O'Donnell, but obviously Matt O'Donnell for Cardinal Spellman. Obviously one of their best players, probably the best player they had. And, it was only a 14-0 game at halftime for Salem. They had turned it over 3 times. Their first 3 drives, they got into the red zone and they threw 2 picks, and they turned another one over on a fumble on a bad snap. So I think game at half, you said, well, this could kind of go either way. And, then they lose their starting quarterback, and it just went south in a hurry. Salem really capitalized. The defense in particular for the Witches was very impressive. Obviously, Albert Pujols, career day for him, 4 interceptions. He had the pick 6 to start things off for Salem in the second quarter to kind of get them going. It was a scoreless game there, and he had a pick 6 that kind of breathed some life into them. And then obviously he had 3 more, including a game-sealing one at the end and another pick 6 as well. He also ran in a touchdown. So really impressive performance for Albert Pujols. But I just thought Salem took advantage of that lack of a starting quarterback for Cardinal Spellman. I mean, they were really reeling, trying to figure out ways to move the ball without him out there. They put one of their skilled wide receivers under center. He didn't have much success. Then they went to another guy who I'm assuming is a younger kid, a backup. He didn't have much success. All 3 quarterbacks threw at least 1 pick for them. So that right there tells you how much they struggled. But, all the credit to Salem, 55-0 win. They shut them down defensively, and really just that second half was pretty much a perfect performance for them. I think in that third quarter alone, they scored 4 touchdowns, and they only took 2 offensive snaps. So they had 2 defensive touchdowns, or 1 defensive and a kick return, and as well as 2 passing touchdowns right off the first play from scrimmage. So 2 snaps, 4 touchdowns. That built the big lead, and able to cruise from there.
That's a formula for success right there.
Not bad.
2 possessions, 4 touchdowns. There you go. Yeah.
So I do think if those teams played each other again, it'd probably be a closer matchup. Like I said, it was only a 14-0 game at the half, even though Salem was playing very well defensively and had some of their own mistakes that kind of plagued them. But that hurt when that quarterback went down. And, speaking with head coach Matt Bouchard after the game, they were game planning for, that quarterback in particular. And when he went out, it was just a whole different ballgame.
370 points now for Salem. That's got to be getting close to a school record. I mean, with 2 games at least, if not 3 games, you got to think they're almost a sure bet to get to that 400 mark. I mean, they're averaging 37 a game, and they might have 3 more games. So pretty impressive there. I mean, we'd have to dig in, maybe to the 99 team or some of those teams in the 70s, but 370 points already. Geez, this is a team that's surpassed 55 points in a game. How many times? I mean, they scored 50 points in a game 1, 2, 3 times. And I'm fairly certain that when this team was freshmen in that fall 2 season, they didn't score 50 points total. So just that, when you put it in perspective that way, that's pretty incredible.
This is the second time they've scored 55 this year, I think, too, right?
I believe that's, 3 times over 50.
That's right.
watermark is indeed 55. Yeah, 55 against Saugus and 55 against Spelman. So
Right.
pretty good. I mean, they've been over 40 like 6 or 7 times, and again over 53 times, which for a program that not that long ago wasn't scoring 50 points in a season. I mean, it's just, I mean, we've not to sound like a broken record, but it's incredible how far that these guys have come in a very short time.
Right. Remarkable progress. And as we have talked about before, there were times over this span of years where, maybe they pick up a win against a team that may not be that great, but right now they're beating teams. They're having a great season, very competitive with everybody, obviously, with just the 2 losses, and those by whiskers, to be quite honest with you. So it's been an incredible performance by these kids on this team as they progressed over the years, as you just alluded to, Willie, for sure. Yeah.
And people might not realize, I mean, they are the top seed remaining in the bracket. Number 1 and number 2 have lost. Now you can't overlook Stoneham, because Stoneham was in the Super Bowl a year ago. They were the number 1 seed a year ago and lost to St. Mary's, and won the Super Bowl in 2018. So you can never overlook a Bob Almeida team. But in terms of the seedings and the power rankings, I mean, Salem is the odds-on favorite at this juncture to win the Division 6 state title based on the rankings, which is, again, just sometimes it feels funny coming out of your mouth, but it's the truth. And for everybody in the Witch City, it's awesome.
Yeah.
And they're just playing with a ton of confidence right now. Nothing conservative. They're really calling the plays and letting the players execute. Grimes is throwing the ball a lot. He's been pretty accurate with his passing, and obviously can do some things with his feet. Vontae Ozuna continues to be that bell cow back for them. Shane Field is another back that's had some good runs and really made an impact on defense coming out of the outside there, whether it's, in the secondary making plays or coming in for the blitz and helping out there. He's been huge. Elias Vasquez had a couple sacks last game. He's been a monster on the line. Obviously, I mentioned Pujols. They got some other weapons at receiver. Quinn Rocco Ryan, he's a guy that can break free at any point. So this is a team that has a lot of weapons, and they're playing with confidence. Talking with Albert Pujols after his big 4 interception game, he just says they're having fun right now. They're just playing free, and I know they've had some close calls. Obviously, they almost blew that game to Dennis Yarmouth a couple weeks ago, but that was just a couple miscues towards the end of the game, and they played a really good game up to that point. So they're playing well right now. They're I don't want to say peaking at the right time, because they've been kind of peaking all year, right? They've just been steady with their play, but they're playing with a ton of confidence.
I think we got to start talking about Corey Grimes as a player of the year candidate, like a big time player of the year candidate. He's thrown for almost 1,600 yards. He has Nick, 21 touchdowns.
Yep.
Spreads the ball all over the
picks.
place. Really pilots that offense really well. And the crazy thing is, he's probably one of their leading tacklers as a hard hitting linebacker. I mean, he doesn't really come off the field at all. He's so valuable running the ship offensively, but he plays such a vital role defensively too. I mean, he's the very definition, I think, of a 2-way high school standout. I think he's got to be right up near the top when you're talking about player of the year candidates.
Yeah, and he kicks for them. He had that interception to seal the game against Dennis Yarmouth a couple of weeks ago. So, yeah, he does it all, and he doesn't come off the field, like you said.
Nicknamed him Captain Calm earlier this year, because he is so calm. Because he just has this demeanor about him. He just does not get fazed. Scrambles, runs. You mentioned the passing, Phil, but he's almost as dangerous a runner, to be honest with you. I mean, he doesn't have that speed that some running quarterbacks might have, but he does have some speed, and he has quickness, and he's got great instincts too.
I know we talked about this previously, but I think a lot of that may be going back to having your lunch handed to you as a freshman and sophomore, week after week, when they were going through some struggles, and that built resolve not only for Corey but for this team as a whole. And they really took their lumps, but now they're reaping the benefits of it. And I think it's what coaches always preach to teams. Put in the work and you'll see it pay off. And it doesn't always happen, but for right now, for Salem High, and especially their seniors and even some of the juniors like Rocco Ryan, that is really paying off right now.
All right, man, let's jump to D1. We got the prep rolling along here. did it in a different way. Well, not really a different way, but they ran the ball like crazy last week against BC High, especially big in the third quarter. But they picked up the win to move on, and they'll be playing Andover, a team they played in last year's playoffs. It's an Andover team with just a one loss this year. Prep still, of course, undefeated right now. But what are you guys thinking about the Prep Andover matchup in the Final Four?
I mean, if I'm being honest, I'd be surprised if it was within 14 points. I think St.
We
John's.
want honest, Phil. We want you to be honest.
Yeah, well, I will be honest.
And we would expect nothing less, to be quite honest with you.
I think the Prep win's going away. I think last week was great for them in hindsight, not because obviously because they won, but because they played pretty sloppy in the first half and were exposed a little bit, especially in that defensive backfield. I think this is a week for the Eagles to really tighten the ship, so to speak, really batten down the hatches and fine tune some things. They just have so many weapons, Bill. I mean, they played poorly for a half last week, and then they go out and they put up 56 points. It's crazy just how deep that they are, how strong they are up front. I mean, I think that front five that they have does not get, as most lines don't, they don't get the credit they deserve. But boy, those guys do a great job at opening holes for Cam LaGrasso, Jimmy Diodati, Jeff Quigley, throw Gail Garcia in there, the big fullback. And when it comes to pass protection, they really do a great job to keep Deacon Robillard from not only not being sacked, but he really doesn't even have to scramble all that often. St. John's has scored 262 points in the first half of games this year. I mean, most teams would love 262 for a season. That's 26 points over a 10-game season. They've got 262 in 10 games in just the first half. And prior to last week against BC High, when they gave up 22 points in the first half, they'd only given up 14 points all season in that first half. So I know Andover is very talented, have a really good quarterback, have a pretty stout defense with a big-time linebacker. I know after getting hammered by St. John's last year in the quarterfinals, they'll be looking to get back, get some measure of revenge or whatever you want to call it. But I just would be really surprised if that happens. I think St. John's is on a collision course to meet Xaverian in the Super Bowl, and that'll be a week after they played them on Thanksgiving. But I think they're just too strong, and if they can tighten up some of those issues they had last week, mental mistakes, giving up home run plays in the secondary, I think they'll be fine this Friday.
Phil, you mentioned how in the D6 tournament, the top two seeds are gone in that tournament, but in the D1 tournament, the four remaining seeds in the tournament are 1 through 4. So Andover
really only one close game among those quarterfinals where Xaverian beat Springfield Central by a point.
Just a little tidbit there, but you're right. I think this prep team, no one knew what to expect really this year, and they've been putting it together, learning and growing, I think, all year. And I totally think you're right about that game last week. The tale of two halves almost, if you will, but that was probably a good experience for them moving forward.
Yeah.
I mean, of course they could lose. I mean, they were certainly vulnerable for half last week. They haven't played a lot of close games. That was really only the second one they had played, if you consider the game where they beat Catholic Memorial. So it was a character test, and their toughness and skill came out over those final 24 minutes.
All right. Well, how about this? If we move on to Danvers in D5, there's a team, the Falcons, last week, 1 week ago, rather, I should say, won by just 1 point and nearly lost right at the end of that game. And then they come back, go on the road yet again in the tournament, win, and now they're taking on Hanover Saturday afternoon at Weston at 2:00. So how about the Falcons, guys?
We were talking about them last week as being like kind of a Jekyll and Hyde team, and I think they showed that again last week. They come out, played a great defensive game against a running back who had almost 1,600 yards rushing, and that team was averaging close to 36 points a game, and Danvers shuts them out. 2 big interceptions, fumble recovery, constant pressure all game from the outside backers and the ends. Just really got after it defensively and got that one touchdown they needed from Owen Gasanowski and tacked on a field goal from Connor Ackerman to move on. Great road win for him. Now, though, huge test. playing the number 1 seed in Hanover. Their quarterback, Ben Scalzi, just set the school record for touchdown passes in the season. He has 33 touchdown passes already, again, with 3 potential games to go for him. They carved up Gloucester 2 weeks ago. I think he threw for 6 touchdown passes in that game and 320 yards. Has all kinds of receivers he can throw the ball to. He's got a good back. Danvers is going to have to find a way to score early and hopefully get that lead and build some confidence. You don't want to have to be playing from behind against this team. They're going to need guys in the back. Those guys that play all the time on defense. Logan Metvier and Kevin Burke and Grayson Jackson and Owen Gasanowski and Isaac Perez, Kevin Ahern, on and on and on. Luke Metvier, those kind of guys, Owen Shanbar, to make plays not only in the secondary, but to get into that backfield before Scalzi can make something happen and really get that offense on track.
Just one other note, maybe off of what you're saying, Phil, we're talking about Danvers to put Salem into some more context. So Danvers pulls off that big win last week. Marblehead beats them at the end of the regular season, beats Danvers. But this Salem team beat Danvers during the regular season. And, what was the other game they had? I was just going to reference that. But anyways, Danvers, like you said, a little Jekyll and Hyde, but they're a formidable team. Maybe they didn't play their best game against Salem. No one's saying they did. But on the other hand, this Salem team has competed very strongly if you go the comparative score route with teams a couple of divisions up for sure from them being in Division 6. So all right, there's our little preview, right, guys? Anything else you guys want to mention about the weekend games coming up?
Yeah, you got Amesbury against, what is it, West Bridgewater, Willie? Is that right? They're playing?
No, Cohasset.
Cohasset, okay.
I do have that. And I do want to mention them if we could. That'd be great because Colin McQueen and Amesbury, they've had a great year. That was a nice win for them last week. Now they're playing Cohasset at Burlington Friday night.
Oh, just good luck to those guys.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, fair enough.
And yeah, you got Pingree too, got a home bowl game. So their 5, 6, 7 year long home winning streak is snapped on Saturday, and they get a chance to start a brand new one the following week. I mean, kind of a nice break for them. You think like with a home loss, you're gonna get maybe sent on the road or to a neutral site for your bowl game, but not only do they get a bowl bid, but they get it at home. So, nice chance for those guys to atone for a bad game last week. And we'll see how they can go out in their finale there on Saturday, too.
Oh, who we should give a shout out to is the Endicott college football team. They wrapped up their 3rd straight league title on Saturday. Well, actually, I think they won the league title the week before, but
they tied for it. They won it outright. Yeah, on Saturday.
They sealed the deal on Saturday when they beat University of New England, and they're opening up play this coming Saturday in the NCAAs against Cortland, out of a SUNY school out of New York State, and a very good school at that. And
it's funny.
A higher ranked team too.
I know all the teams are good once you get to the playoffs, but it seems like the schedule makers didn't really do Endicott any favors. They're going to be playing another 9-1 team. Very strong based on their scores and schedule in Cortland State. And Endicott, it looks like they're going to be without their top running back, AJ Caggiano. He left Saturday's game with an injury. Didn't look good. I don't know if it was an ankle or a knee, but he had some trouble. I would be very surprised if he was playing this weekend. So Endicott's got a lot of depth, obviously. So they'll be able to plug some holes there. But they're a fun team to watch. If you never had a chance to get to a game over at Hempstead Stadium, Saturday would be a great time to do so. Should be a terrific first-round game. They're really hoping to get that win. Both head coach Paul McGonigal and the players were telling me they had 2 goals this season: was win the title again, win the Commonwealth Coast Conference title, and win a playoff game. So they're halfway there. And what better place for them to achieve that second goal than on their home turf? That would be a great accomplishment for them.
Yeah, this Cortland team is a very good team, as you might expect. They've played a very tough schedule, very, very solid. This Cortland team beat Ithaca, the team that beat Endicott, gave them their only loss just last weekend to wrap up their regular season. And also, I also heard that I believe the students are away. I mean, they go on their Thanksgiving vacation as of Friday. The game is Saturday. Probably there'll be students around, but if you're ever thinking that you ever want to get to a game over at Endicott, maybe this NCAA game would be the best one to get to be quite honest with you. And if it's a great day, a noon kickoff over there. So just keep that in mind. And I know you guys, and we'll be putting up some additional information on that as they get a little closer.
What was the score of that playoff game last year, Willie, at home? Was it 17-14? They lost by a field goal?
Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you. I would think it was maybe 21-17 or something like that. I don't think Springfield kicks field goals. I know that maybe that was the nationally ranked game they lost earlier this year was by a field goal. Let's see, I can pull it up here. I'm sure Dan Connors, the Essex Tech coach and the Springfield alum, would have it at his fingertips. It was 17-14. There you go.
No, it was. Okay.
Still right on the money there.
All right. Nice. All right.
That's like a whole broken clock right twice a day theory at work right there.
But interesting. Yeah, go. We're obviously thrilled for the Gulls, another team that, some of the projections, just like Pingree, had them going on the road. And so to be at home is pretty sweet for them.
Absolutely. Right. So they might have caught a break on that one for sure. But all right. Masco girls soccer in action as we speak on Monday. They were back in action in the semifinals, the Final Four on Tuesday against Notre Dame at Manning Field in Lynn, with a game start at 4:30 in the afternoon over there at Manning Field. And obviously
nice
they top seed. What a great season for them.
Still undefeated and get to play relatively close to home, which is an advantage probably. I'm not sure they've ever played at Manning as a team, which is a challenge. Every turf kind of plays a little bit differently, so you kind of got to learn how the ball bounces off the parquet, so to speak, when you're shooting and whatnot. But still, I mean, beats having to go down South Shore to Weymouth or Brockton or something like that. And they're just such a deep team. They keep saying that we can sub so much and go full speed, and as a result of that, wear out other teams. And you certainly saw that in the second half of their quarterfinal win over regular Hingham, as opposed to Notre Dame Hingham, who they play next. The Harbor women, didn't have a shot on goal in the second half, and were really just overwhelmed by Masco's depth and attack. And even though it was a 2-1 game, Masco kind of handily dominated the second half. So we'll see if they can keep it going. I mean, this is for as far as they've been since 2006, and I don't think they've been to a state final since '89 when they won the D2 state title. So just been great for them. I mean, their success in the last 6 or 7 years is unprecedented. It's a little bit like Marblehead football, where they've had all these great undefeated seasons and never really quite broken through to the state finals. So that's really kind of the only thing that's missing from their, the only feather that's not in their cap, so to speak, is that state championship. I mean, again, like in 7 years that Allison Lassess and Dan Basenga have been the coaches, they've been undefeated in the regular season 4 times, which is pretty good. So they just got to try to win these next 2 games and see if they can, finish the job. And again, just their tremendous depth at every level of the field is really what's carrying them to this point.
I was shocked when I read that you wrote that it had been since 2006. I never would have guessed that.
I mean, it's hard to win, because you're talking to get to a state semifinal in those old formats, you would have to win the North Championship, right? And for many, many years, Masco was in Division I. So you're talking about having to beat Winchester, Acton, Boxborough, teams like this. And even the few years they spent in D2, I mean, they got to the semifinals against Danvers and lost a couple of times. I mean, so girls soccer in Division I and II level to win the North, even the South is usually stronger. To win the North is still hard. So and I think this is one team that the move to the Northeastern Conference has helped them. I believe. Playing Danvers twice, playing Peabody twice, playing Beverly twice. And I mean, those teams aren't at the height of their powers like they were 15 years ago, but still, I mean, I think that they're more battle tested than they were when they were in the Cal. And, the Cal's a good league. We see Linfield in the, in the state semifinals for girls. Hamilton Wenham got knocked from the unbeaten ranks, by Linfield. 4-0. Hamilton had only given up 4 goals all year. And, Linfield played a couple of NEC teams non-league, which is how they got the home game over Hamilton. even though Hamilton beat them in the regular season. And I know Hamilton's a team that is looking to beef up its non-league schedule once it gets that turf put in. Because, I think that might have been the difference in this game was that Linfield had played Marblehead and Danvers and had that experience. And so I think that Masco has benefited from being in the NEC. And, that might not be the case for all their teams, girls basketball and some of the boys sports or whatever, but girls soccer, I mean, this is a team that is, I believe, closer to a state title because of this move to the NEC.
Makes sense. Yeah.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Fun to watch too. They really like each other. Coach Lassess mentioned it. I thought it was a great quote. She said, when we go on the bus, we have seniors dancing with freshmen, and in girls sports that translates to success on the field. And I thought it was just kind of she said it was pretty poetic that's kind of what's happening for them is that freshmen and seniors are both scoring. I mean, they got a freshman named Maggie Blosser that's doing some amazing things with her feet. You can go back on my Twitter account, and I've retweeted her dad has videos of the goals, and she's had some really nice juggles and fakes and finishes, and she's really come on the last month of the season. So that, I mean, when you add someone else that can score to that triangle of Scannell and Schneider and Bauner that they already had, I mean, my goodness, that's just so many options. And it's a team that really likes each other and really is enjoying playing together. They move the ball on the ground very well. They're fun to watch. So, I would recommend anybody go watch the game if you like soccer, or try to find a live stream if it's too cold out there, because they're a great passing team and they are really fun to watch.
All right, Phil, I know you got a chance to see that Ipswich volleyball team. They had that standout match Friday afternoon against league rival Hamilton Wenham. Hamilton Wenham won a game in that, and but it was Ipswich winning 3-1 overall in that matchup in the would be the round of 8, if you will. Yeah, round of 8. Yeah, and quarterfinals, and so then. Now they're into the Final Four, and they'll be playing on Tuesday night this week. So, Phil, what did you take away from the activities at the Elliott Roundy Gymnasium in Ipswich?
What did I glean from?
Oh, no, the other night before that. Yeah. What did you glean?
What did I glean? Well, I tell you what, I'm not going to sit here and pretend to know that I know anything about Hudson. That's for sure. Who Ipswich will be facing the state semifinals Tuesday night up in Tewksbury. But I know a little bit about Ipswich. I mean, first of all, it's a really, really well-coached team. That's, you can tell. I think anybody could tell just by being there. There's great communication between Stacy Lawrence, the head coach, her assistants, and the players. There's constant communication during plays. There's confidence building all the time. Anytime someone's subbed in, whoever comes out is getting positive feedback. So I think it's a really conducive atmosphere to winning in that regard. Secondly, the players just, by this point, they've won back-to-back state titles. So they know what the expectations are.
No, that's a kind of.
They know what it takes to be successful. They run kind of a 9-person unit. Stacy says, I don't really have 6 starters. I have 9 starters. Just 3 of them happen to start on the bench. But she rotates them in and out and gets great play there. I mean, you have Ella Stein, she's captain, she's the all-time aces leader on the team. Tessa Flynn, who runs the offense, great defensive player as well. Addison Pillis at the net, she's a junior middle blocker, seems to get to everything. Claire Buletza is another one who's really powerful with the spikes when the opportunity presents itself. I mean, they're just a very skilled team. They don't get rattled. This is the same team that last year was down 2-0 in the state final was Joseph Case High School, I want to say. And they came back and won 3 in a row. So they've been there, done that. They know what to expect. They're not looking to, win every set 25-5 and blow everybody out 3-0. They know the other teams are skilled, but they also know that it's a game of runs, and sometimes they're in your favor and sometimes they're not. They just kind of weather the storm. And again, as a top seed, undefeated, they're facing a Hudson team that has 20 wins, but they've lost 3 games. I would think Ipswich is going to be the favorite going in, and I would expect Ipswich to come out on top and be playing for their 3rd straight state title this coming Saturday.
All right, gentlemen.
We had someone three-peat on any sports around here.
Well,
Okay.
you have,
Good talking to you too.
Bishop Fenwick softball won 7 titles in a row. in the early to mid 90s. You had St. John's Prep swimming won about 12 titles in a row or something like that. I think Masconomet Gymnastics is on a streak of about 3 or 4 in a row right now, if you consider the pandemic season in there. But you're right; it's pretty rare that it does happen.
I think you might have St. Mary's girls basketball might have something going on too, because they had the pandemic. I think they've had some titles there. Yeah, they had they might have the 3 too going. I'm not sure, but you're right. It's very rare, Nick. You're right. Yeah, doesn't happen.
The girls hockey team probably three-peated at one time or another over there. One interesting thing I did notice, potentially for that finale, is that Frontier Regional, the number 3 seed, is the defending Division 5 state champ. So they got moved up to 4.
Interesting.
So that could be interesting if they end up playing one another. I mean, obviously, they're the 3 seed. They got to get by what I assume is a pretty good Bellingham team. I don't know if any Ricky Santos relatives are on the squad or anything like that, but that could be interesting to have last year's Division 4 and 5 champions playing one another.
There you go. Right. 2 defending state champs going up against each other. Hey, I got to ask you guys.
Too often.
No, that doesn't happen too often either. For our listeners or viewers, I had some lighting issues here with the sun going down here during the podcast here, Phil. But I noticed in the background there, you got the bright lights. Are all those your awards that we're looking at behind you there?
Yeah, not quite. No, no.
I know you're in work.
Sister office down in Gloucester, and these are various awards the newspaper has won over the years. I can't claim to have any of these behind me. It's just where I happen to plug in and sit. Not a bad background though.
No, very nice. Yeah, impressive. All right.
And speaking of the Gloucester area, we should mention too that the Manchester Essex Hornets field hockey team is also in the state semifinals this week. They're going up against Monomoy down in Hingham Wednesday at 5:00. They've been rolling through the tournament. They've scored 19 goals, only given up 1. Monomoy is number 3 seed. They haven't given up a goal and they've scored 17. So should be a terrific matchup. I would think that whoever wins that game will face 2-time champion and top seeded Uxbridge on the other side Saturday at WPI. So good luck to the Hornets in their quest to bring home a state title.
I was fortunate that I was driving and I didn't get a chance to watch any of the Patriots Sunday. Any of you guys watch any of that? And in 30 seconds or 60 seconds, how bad was it? It sounds awful, just awful.
Just kind of like every other week, it seems, right?
Yeah.
This is what we expect at this point. I think hopefully we've seen the last of Mac Jones as a starter, because he just keeps getting worse from my eyes. I mean, what a terrible performance that was. And I do feel a little bit bad for the guy at this point, but I don't know who their other option is, if they're going to go with Zappi or Cunningham or this other guy that they got on the practice squad. I can't think of his name. What is it? Greer or anyway, I mean, they don't have better options, but Max had enough chances at this point. We, scoring 6 points, throwing that interception that sealed it. Oh, it was tough to watch, Bill. You didn't miss it, put it that way, but
I saw one highlight and that was tough to watch. Yeah.
Maybe they could sign Shea Lynch to a free agent contract. I mean, he throws for a ton of touchdowns, make things happen with his feet. I mean, he can do some damage. Why not?
I think Endicott's going to need him. I don't know if they'd let him go for nothing. I mean, they might have to trade. I get the Patriots want compensation for Belichick when they fire him. I think Endicott would want compensation for Lynch. How about Clayton Morengi? I mean,
there you go.
How passes he up to now? The Patriots could probably use him too.
And you know what? He's a great young man too. I had a chance to talk to him after the game Saturday, and boy, he's full of life and he really keeps things in perspective. And I thought that he and both Brian Freiberger and Marblehead, who caught a touchdown pass the other day for Endicott, were saying that it's difficult to enjoy what they're experiencing in the moment. So they were glad they were able to take some time on the field post game. They celebrated their league title with family and friends. They were able to soak that in for a few minutes the other day. But yeah, I'm glad you brought up Clayton. He's certainly very efficient, can run very effectively as well as throw, and very nice young man.
I mean, Neil Weidman raised and taught, right? Coach Clayton at Linfield. He obviously has coached his son Hudson for his whole life there,
Yep.
at Pingree, taking them to the bowl. He worked with Travis Wazine in Danvers last year, who's like on the precipice of a Super Bowl. Like, maybe instead of Bill O'Brien, like they if they were looking for a quarterback whisperer, they should have gone to the Tri-Town and tried to get Weidman.
Good point.
We've gone all over
mean,
the place, but I like it. I think it's been good. It's been pretty good stuff. Yeah, excellent.
I will say too, as speaking of Weidman, who was on my list of people I'd rather have run my offense than Matt Patricia. The people that are coming out of the woodwork to say, "Oh, O'Brien's been really bad. Maybe we were too hard on Patricia." No, we weren't. He's worse still. Okay.
All right. I know our clock is running down fast, so thanks for keeping that rip of the day short, Matt.
We try to keep it light.
Yeah, keep it light. You got it. All right.
We got to
Good
bring
job,
back
man.
that electric tape to do the rip.
Yeah, there we go. Next time we got it. Yeah. All right. Maybe some painter's tape. I think it's a little greener for the environment if we do that. All right, guys. Thank you. We'll talk again soon.
Have a good week, guys.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Bill.